few points at the end of his tongue, and that actually helps him taste the air. So as he's flicking his tongue out, he's seeing where the most scent particles are, and if there's more scent particles on the left side of his tongue compared to the right, he'll know that the food is over on the left side, and vice versa for the other directions as well. And this really helps our dragons to find their food, and it's also good for their enrichment. So what we'll tend to do in this habitat here, we'll be dragging around kind of fishy smelling water as a form of enrichment for him to follow, and we also drag around his kills as well, so that he can follow the trails to find where his food is. But out in the wild, it would really help him locating that lovely prey items he'd be going for, things like boar, deer, water buffalo as well. And you might be thinking, how does an animal this size tackle something like a water buffalo, which is much, much bigger than what he is as well? And it's all due to a very special weapon these guys have got, which is hidden in their heads. And they actually have venom glands. Now, it was a misconception that we thought that the bacteria in their mouths caused animals to bleed out and die, but these guys actually do have venom glands in their heads. So, as he is an ambush predator, meaning he'll lie in wait for prey to get close, so if he's hunting a water buffalo, he'll wait nice and quiet. When the water buffalo gets close enough, he'll strike and bite. And as that dragon bites, the venom is injected, and that venom actually has anticoagulant properties, meaning that the blood doesn't clot or won't scab over your skin. And that means that the venom is then pulsed around the body, and that animal will eventually die. Now, it can take up to a day, but these guys will follow that animal around, making sure that they're keeping close to the kill, and then once that animal's down, these guys have a feast, and they absolutely devour everything they eat. They will eat the hooves, the horns, the fur, the skin, the bones, everything. They've got extremely strong chemicals in their stomach, instead of that acid, and they will eat everything of that animal what they have hunted. Now these guys as well, in terms of breeding and mating, for the dragons, it is really important in that size does matter. The larger the male dragon, the more likely you are to win the eyes of a female. And that's because our male dragons, they do a behaviour called wrestling. That's where they'll use their big, strong tails to kind of help rear themselves up onto their strong, muscular hind legs as well, and they will grapple each other in the air. Now, they do actually have some kind of resistance to each other's venom, so a bite from a dragon won't be fatal, but they will obviously feel them really sharp, serrated teeth, what they'll be biting with as well, and them lovely, long, curved claws. You can probably see here on Titali as well, as they're raking down their skin as well. But once the male has chosen, once the male has won a wrestle and has chosen a female to mate with, they will then obviously lay a clutch of eggs. And females tend to dig their own burrows, and they'll lay their clutch of eggs in the cover the burrow and then go away. And that is as much parenting as these guys actually do. From there on out, the hatchlings are on their own. They need to fend for themselves, and they've got a big competition because the bigger dragons, they do tend to eat their young if they are found as well. So there's a few ways that our little dragons can actually get to grow up to these amazing sizes, and that's by using things like climbing in trees and also having extremely varied diets. I mean, they will eat anything and everything to get to this size as quick as possible. But there is a less popular way of avoiding predation from these big guys, is these little ones rolling around in animal dung. Yes, you heard me correctly. These guys will cover themselves in animals' poo so that they can hide the smell from these larger dragons. And that makes them a bit of a smelly way, but a good way to get to that full-grown size as well. Now these guys are obviously incredible animals, but they are an endangered species over in the Lovely Islands, and they do face quite a few threats. One of them threats in particular is actually habitat destruction from people going over to visit these guys. As you can all imagine, these are a big attraction for anyone to go and see in the wild, so obviously that's what's been drawing lots of tourists in. But as the tourists have been drawing things in, what's been happening is that local habitats have been destroyed and more tourist resorts have been kind of built in them areas, meaning that there's a lot more conflict between dragons and people there as well. But we can do something about this in terms of the conservation work we are doing over on the island of Flores, where you're geotagging individuals, tracking them whereabouts, seeing where they're going, and also doing lots of different surveys in terms of food options and also their breeding habits as well. And just making sure that we can keep an eye on things and implementing any kind of education systems and also other conservation methods to help prevent these guys from facing further threats out in the wild. And one of the easy ways that you guys here today can help as well is by tackling something called the illegal wildlife trade. So these guys, as they are obviously when they're young, about the size in here, they might seem like a good size to be a pet, however they do go into what you see before you over there. So obviously, if you do see any animals which might be on your social medias of exotic animals in domestic settings, a quick way to kind of eradicate that immediately is to block, report or not interact with that content. That reduces the traffic of the animal's popularity online, meaning that they can actually not be taken from the wild and they're left to where they need to be out there as well. And now just before we go, I will leave you one little spooky season fact as we are getting into our kind of Halloween-esque moments. And basically these guys were thought to be actual dragons. You heard me right? People who went over to them islands and first saw these creatures thought they were fire-breathing dragons because of them lovely pale and orange tongues. And as they were flicking out quite quickly to taste the air, the people who saw them thought they're breathing fire. And that's what gave them that last name of dragon as well, because they thought they were actual fire-breathing dragons. Now luckily here at the zoo, we don't have any fire-breathing dragons, or this lovely wooden habitat would not be doing very well at this moment in time. But we are very, very happy with our amazing Komodo dragons here in front of us. So that does bring us to the end of our Komodo Dragon Talk. If you have any questions about our dragons in general, feel free to come and speak to me. Otherwise, come and join us for our next talk over in the spirit of the Jaguar for our Jaguar chat at 2:40. And one last big thank you from me to you. Any money you spent in the zoo today, a portion does go towards our conservation projects in the zoo and also our global projects around the world as well. So thank you very much, guys. Have a lovely rest of your day at the zoo, and we'll see you at Spirit of Jaguar at 2:40.